Hello, and thank you for coming. This is my Bible reading and study of Genesis chapter 16. This is a shorter chapter, but like chapter 15, I will summarize every 5 verses or so. It's easier to understand what is happening that way, as the old time speak I find rather confusing, and I imagine others might as well. So, let's get started. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had an handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abram,
Behold now, the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my handmaid. It may be that I may obtain children by her.
And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar her maid the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. And Sarai said unto Abram,
My wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid into thy bosom, and when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. The Lord judge between me and thee.
But Abram said unto Sarai,
Behold, thy maid is in thy hand. Do to her as it pleaseth thee.
And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. So Abram's wife Sarai can't have kids, so she gave Abram her handmaid Hagar to wife, so she can have kids through her. Hagar, having conceived, despised Sarai. What does that mean? Thought that she was better than her mistress because she could have kids. Sarai, not liking that at all, spoke to Abram, as she felt wronged by her maid. Abram responds, saying that the maid who is his wife is still Sarai's maid, and she can punish her as she sees fit. Let's continue from there. And the angel of the Lord found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Shur. And he said,
Hagar, Sarai's maid, whence thou comest thou? And whither wilt thou go?
And she said,
I flee from the face of my mistress Sarai.
And the angel of the Lord said unto her,
Return to thy mistress, and submit thyself under her hands.
And the Lord of the angel said unto her,
I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered for multitude.
And the angel of the Lord said unto her,
Behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shalt call his name Ishmael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction.
So far reading from 6 to 11, Abram said she can do as she sees fit to Hagar. So Sarai punishes her harshly, which made Hagar run. Hagar was found by an angel of the Lord nearby a fountain, and asked her, where did she come from, where did she go? Where did she come from, Cotton Eye Joe? That last part was a joke, but that song is stuck in my head and hope is stuck in your head too. Anyways, Hagar said she had to flee from Sarai. The angel said to return back to Sarai and submit to Sarai, as the Lord will make it so she can have a lot more kids. She is also currently pregnant with a son, and to name him Ishmael. Anyways, continuing from there.
And he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren.
And she called the name of the Lord that spoke unto her.
Thou God seest me.
For she said,
Have I also here looked after him that seeth me?
Wherefore the well was called Bir Lahai Roi. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bare Abram a son, and Abram called his son's name, which Hagar bare, Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abram. So the last verses, 12 to 16, the angel informs Hagar that Ishmael will be a wild man, and everyone will be against him, and will live among his brothers. Hagar called the Lord, Thou God seest me, or God that sees, which is now what the well is being called. The name is Bir Lahai Roi, meaning the well of him who liveth and seeth me. The well can be found between Kadesh and Bered. Hagar did as she was told, and went back and bore a son, naming him Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael. So that is chapter 16 of Genesis. It's not too hard to understand once we break it down to what is going on. Nothing special I'd say is going on here, but I did learn that in the case of speaking to my mother, that she thought it was Sarai who despised Hagar, not the other way around. I don't blame people for thinking that, considering the old tiny speak, but in verse 4 it says, her mistress was despised in her eyes. Sarai can't be her own mistress, so it's Hagar's mistress was despised in Hagar's eyes. And in verse 5, Sarai says, when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes, reiterating that Hagar was looking down on her for not being able to have kids. So Hagar basically thought she was better than Sarai because she could have kids, which is kind of messed up, so punishing Hagar harshly was probably to be expected. Sarai felt wronged, and with the blessings of Abraham basically, when she confronted him about it, she was justified in the punishment. So nothing to really dissect here, I think, but if anyone finds anything that they would like me to look into, please feel free to leave a comment or message me on my X account. I'd be glad to look into it and answer what I can. Anyways, that's the end of this Bible study. Remember, God loves you, I love you, and take care until we meet again.